What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Talking Sports Podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. As always, I am your host, Peter DiBiasi, and this is the Talking Sports Podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. We have another jam-packed episode for you. You guys will be seeing this Wednesday evening on the eve, kind of like Christmas Eve, good analogy, a little bit Christmas Eve kind of vibe, of the 2025 NFL season. It's finally here, the 2025 NFL season. And where else would you rather get your final preview for the 2025 NFL season than the Talking Sports Podcast? So before we get into it, as always, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Use code TSB for a 100% deposit match up to $100 on Underdog Fantasy. Best time to get on Underdog Fantasy right now. Link is in the description. For college football, for the NFL, it is a perfect time to download that fantasy app, get an Underdog Fantasy, and I'm going to help you out. I'm going to match your deposit up to $100, 100% deposit match up to $100. Use code TSP. And as always, follow us on social media on X and on Instagram for our weekly college football rankings and our weekly NFL picks that will be starting Thursday, September 4th, the first day of the NFL season. So our picks are back. And I'm excited. I love doing those picks weekly for you guys. So make sure you guys follow us on all the socials. Like I said, eve of the NFL season, I gave you guys an NFL episode for over-under predictions. I gave you 3 teams that I think are going to go under their win total predictions by Vegas and 3 teams that I think are going to go over their win total predictions from Vegas. I gave you guys my NFC preview, predicted all the divisions. I'm going to pull that back up on the screen because this photo I'm going to be showing you that I'm going to go with my AFC preview will contain all the predictions I've made. I gave you my Super Bowl pick, which was the Detroit Lions. I'm going to tell you who's coming out of the AFC. I'm going to tell you my playoff predictions. Take that with a grain of salt because we will be doing a wild card preview, a divisional round preview, and an AFC championship preview in due time, or AFC and NFC championship for all those rounds in due time once the playoffs come in a handful of months. But I like to do a little bit, not detailed at all, but similar to the NFC preview, and then I'll give you guys my Super Bowl prediction. Let's get right into it. I can't wait. I love this time of the year. It's so fun. It's so fascinating, and let's do it. Okay, so just a refresher, quickly, if you haven't watched the NFC preview, go watch it right now. I break this down in way more detail. I have Google Drive open, as you guys can see, but you guys can see what I have in the NFC. I'm not going to break down the NFC East, NFC North, NFC South, NFC West. Go look for that preview. If you just want to see what record of predictions I have, you can see on the right side. But let's talk about the AFC. I'm going to give you guys the 7 teams I have making the playoffs, 4 division winners, and we're going to break down each team. Let's start with the AFC East, and probably my shocker for most people, that is the Miami Dolphins. They finished 6-11. 2-4 in division, and 5-7 in conference. I have a little to no hope with what the Miami Dolphins are doing this year, right? Look, I think Tua's a solid quarterback. I saw somewhere where he was ranked 28th today. Look, is he 28th? No, he's a top 20 quarterback in the National Football League. He's closer to 20 than he is 10, in my opinion. I don't know where the direction with this team is. They still have Tyreek Hill, all the controversy in the offseason. They still have a young, talented receiver in Jalen Waddle. Devin Achane is a really good running back. 3 questions for the Miami Dolphins. Their defense lacks top-end talent. I picked them to finish under their win total. Their defense lacks top-end talent. I just don't see it from player 1 to player 11 and past that on defense where this talent is for this defense. And I think that defense is going to struggle in a conference with a lot of good quarterbacks. And Mike McDaniel's I think he's a good play caller. I think he's a good offensive mind. I don't think he's a good NFL head coach from top to bottom. And in order to win games in this league and be a good NFL head coach, you get to work on special teams, defense and offense. I think he's too strictly offense. This team funnels down the stretch. And I think this is probably the first year, and obviously they didn't make the playoffs, but the first year where they really struggle down the stretch here. And I think Miami goes 6-11 and finishes 4th in the division. Well, the Jets are going to be joining them at 6-11. I have them finishing 6-11, also 2-4 in division, 4-8 in conference. They win off, I guess, win-to-win tiebreakers when I predicted every single game. Another disappointing year for the New York Jets. I did grading coaches a couple months, a handful of months ago. And I had Aaron Glenn as above average hire. I like the Aaron Glenn hire. It's not a flashy Ben Johnson hire. I kind of ranked it right behind Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. It's not the flashy Ben Johnson hire. It's not the risky, potentially Kellen Moore hire or Schottenheimer to Dallas, where it's a risky move. I think this is a safe, solid option. I actually think Aaron Glenn could be a long-term option for the Jets. I really do. But we're not talking about what the Jets are going to look like in 2027, 2028. We're talking what about the Jets are going to look like in 2025. Once again, this team is going to struggle. I think they're going to look competitive. I think they're going to be solid. You're not going to walk away from the 2025 Jets thinking, well, this team looks like a disaster. This team doesn't know what they're doing. I think the Jets are going to be a solid, competitive team, but that does not result in a lot of wins at 6-11. Their receiving core scares me. Outside of Garrett Wilson, it's probably the worst receiving core outside of a number one receiver in the National Football League. It is pretty brutal. Allen Lazard doesn't really offer anything at this point. They cut Malachi Corley. It's Garrett Wilson, and they're hoping a big step in year one for Mason Taylor, the rookie tight end out of LSU. This team's going to run the ball. Their running back room is nice. You have Braylon Allen, who I think might overtake Breece Hall, because I think Breece Hall is going into his contract year. I don't think he's a long-term, or I don't think the Jets and him they haven't agreed on a long-term option, obviously. But I do think, I don't know if their partnership goes beyond this year. So I do think there is a chance that Breece Hall is not a Jet after this past year. Their quarterback play is going to be probably one of the worst in the National Football League. The Justin Fields hire is cool and all. He is not a competent NFL quarterback. He's just not. Like, Jets fans can tell you all they want, but their quarterback play is going to be bottom 5 in the National Football League, and that's going to hinder them. Their defense is, their line is rebuilt. They can run the ball as much as they want. But what Justin Fields can't do is consistently throw the ball, and he's never been able to do that in the National Football League. And I don't think it changes this year with a pretty poor receiving room. Their defense is solid, but it's not as good as it was 2 years ago. I don't see the Jets doing much more than 6-7 wins. I think they're a competitive, well-coached team with immense flaws at the quarterback position. New England Patriots, coming from 4th all the way to 2nd. Wait, were they 4th last year? Yeah, they were 4th last year. All the way to 2nd, 8-9. Spoiler alert, they're not making the playoffs at 8-9. I don't think that was much of a spoiler, but they're not making the playoffs. But this is a team that could sneak into a 7 seed, even a potential 6 seed. When I predict you to go 8-9, that's not saying you're not going to make. It's saying you're not making the playoffs, but you're 1 or 2 wins away from making the playoffs. It's a very thin margin. When I say you're 6-11 with the Dolphins and Jets, those teams are both not making the playoffs, in my opinion. Drake May, year 2. Year 2 quarterbacks are really interesting because what do you get? Do you get what you got from CJ Stroud, which is a struggle in year 2? They made the playoffs, but not as crisp and as the step that people thought he was going to make. Is that what you get in year 2 from Drake May? Because I don't think it is, because Drake May, with all the hype he has, had a very, very average rookie year. He was solid. He was flashy at times, but let's not get on our high horse and say he was great rookie year. He wasn't, and that's not a problem. It's your rookie year in the National Football League with a really poor team. So I do think we see more of a step in year 1 to year 2 to Drake May. If we see a step back, then we're going to a bottom 5 quarterback in the National Football League, and I don't think we see that. Mike Vrabel, tremendous hire for the New England Patriots. Tremendous. A couple things that concern me. That defense, especially that back side of that defense, linebacker core and outside of Christian Gonzalez, is not good. It's just not. Like, we can talk all we want, and the Patriots have been known for their defense, mainly under Bill Belichick, but I don't know outside of Christian Gonzalez and that linebacking core if I trust the Patriots. I like Christian Barmore. I like Keon White. I like what they did at the edge room. I think they can get after the quarterback. I think they're going to struggle in their secondary. And I do think their receiving room is very risky. Like, they've completely missed on the Jalen Polk and the Javon Baker draftees. Jalen Polk's out for the year. Javon Baker's got cut. I think he went back to the practice squad, but man, I have freaking itch. Not the time, Pete. Let's just get everything really itchy before we do a podcast. But yeah, the Patriots, I think they're going to be a solid, competitive, good football team that just misses out in the playoffs. And they also drafted Travion Henderson to go over Ramondre Stevenson. So it's a good running back room. And then we got the Buffalo Bills, the dominant Buffalo Bills that are going to win their 6th straight division title, 14-3, and they're going to get the number 1 overall seed. So the first team that's making the playoffs is from the AFC East, and that is the Buffalo Bills. I think the AFC East is a one-bid playoff league, and I think the Bills get the number 1 overall seed. Josh Allen. He's an alien, a unicorn at the quarterback position. He's the second best quarterback, in my opinion, in the league. He wins the Super Bowl too, he'll be number 1. And obviously the Bills' goal, and I think obviously, is to win the Super Bowl. But when we're talking about the regular season, their goal has to be to get the number 1 seed, right? Last year, they were the number 2 seed in the AFC. Great and all, right? They host Denver in the wild card round, they beat Denver. They host Baltimore, great game, they beat Baltimore. Then they have to go to Kansas City, and they lose by a couple points on a heartbreaking play at the end of the game. They had a chance to go down and win the game, and they did not, right? The Bills this year, they're 2 goals, but it's 1 goal together. It's not playing the wild card round, and the one way you not playing the wild card round is get the number 1 overall seed. The Bills' goal for the regular season purposes have to be avoid the wild card round and play as the number 1 overall seed, because if you are the number 1 overall seed, you most likely miss out on Baltimore or Kansas City in the divisional round, potentially not into the AFC Championship game, and that is a huge hurdle to avoid. Bills' top 5 roster, and that top 3 roster, probably the National Football League. They have an interesting receiving core. They expect a lot from Keon Coleman and Joshua Palmer. They expect a year 3 jump from Dalton Kincaid, and they expect Khalil Shakir to still be the stud slot receiver that he is, the old reliable receiver. James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson rounds a good running back core. Obviously, James Cook is a top 10 running back. If you missed my rankings, check out our social media page. You can see where I ranked James Cook in the top 10. Or JR and I both ranked James Cook in the top 10. O-line was great last year. They added some guys up front, right, at the D-line position. They added Joey Bosa. If he stays healthy, he's a game wrecker. They drafted TJ Sanders in the second round, D-tackle out of South Carolina. They drafted D-end Landon Jackson out of Arkansas in the third round. And they drafted Deion Walker, 4th round, out of Kentucky. So they added 3 young guys to the D-line. They bring in a veteran, Joey Bosa. They signed Michael Hoyt, who's a productive player. Missed the first 6 games because of suspension, but will come back heading into week 7, which is a nice little boost for them. They drafted Maxwell Harrison at corner, first round. Their biggest concern, or the 2 biggest concerns, is the safety room. If Taylor Rapp can stay healthy and Cole Bishop can take a year 2 jump, that safety room becomes a concern to a productive safety room, because I think when Taylor Rapp is healthy, he's a very good safety. And then who's cornerback 2? Week 1, it's probably Trey White or Dorian Strong, the day 3 pick from Virginia Tech, because Maxwell Harrison will be on the IR the first 4 weeks. When he comes back, I expect Harrison to take over that cornerback 2 position, but they're loaded at 1 with Christian Benford, one of the best corners in the National Football League. The biggest question, who is that cornerback 2? If they can get consistent play, which they have not over the last couple of years, at times, Rasul Douglas has been solid, but not as consistent as he was in the beginning of his career. If they can get consistent cornerback play, that at the cornerback 2 position, that defense is going to be very good. So the one team I have making the playoffs out of the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills. Moving on to the AFC North. Oh boy, we got the 4-13 Cleveland Browns. Wow. This is going to be with the Saints for the 2 worst teams in the National Football League. The Saints and the Browns, in my opinion, are the worst NFC and worst AFC teams. Start Shedeur Sanders at some point this year just because it's fun. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know what Shedeur Sanders or even Dylan Gabriel is going to be. I know what Joe Flacco is going to be. I do. This is going to be a tough year for the Browns. It's just going to be. Like, they have Jerry Jeudy, who's kind of resurrected his career. Sorry. After being a first-round pick, he resurrected his career and now turns into a very good wide receiver 1. They drafted Quishon Junkins. They drafted Dylan Sampson. They have David Njoku. They got some weapons and some ground game. They don't have a quarterback. They still have Myles Garrett. They still have Denzel Ward. Like, this team is good at some positions. Don't clip me saying this team is good. This team's not good. I like Kevin Stefanski. I really do. At some point this year, we will either see Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. It's just a disservice to Browns fans and fans in the NFL if we don't see either at least one of your 2 rookie quarterbacks that you drafted in this past NFL draft at some point this year. another woeful year for the Cleveland Browns at 4-13. The Pittsburgh Steelers finishing 9-8. Spoiler alert, they just missed the playoffs as the 8th seed, which is crazy. They go by 500. Tomlin keeps his streak alive, but they missed the playoffs because of tiebreakers. So they're not making the playoffs at 9-8. They are a weird team, man. They are really weird. Like, I don't know where they are. They're stuck in no man's land. Like, they're not bad. They're not good. Like, they're not going to make a long playoff run. They have some talented players. Like, they moved off George Pickens. Cool. You're like, okay, so are we kind of going back on our, like, kind of competing? Like, maybe we don't re-sign TJ Watt for a long-term deal. We kind of move off of him, maybe. Nope, we trade for TK Metcalf, give TJ Watt a long-term deal, and bring in Aaron Rodgers. And you're like, okay, what do we do now? We go 9-8 and we miss the playoffs. That's what they do now. Like, are the Steelers going to be an easy out at any part of this season? Are they going to be an easy out? No. Like, they're not going to be an easy team to play against. They're not going to be an easy team to beat. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, he can still be a competitive quarterback and competent quarterback in this league. They drafted Caleb Johnson to go with Jalen Warren. I like that running back duo a lot. They have DK Metcalf. They need some production outside of DK Metcalf. We'll see where that comes. They have a solid defense. The back end's a little scary. They bring in Jalen Ramsey. They move off Minka Fitzpatrick. Maybe Jalen Ramsey still has something left in the tank. Still Cam Hayward. Still Highsmith. Still TJ Watt. This is going to be a really tough team that just misses out in the playoffs. And once again, Steelers fans are going to be asking, where are we going? Like, what are we doing right now? Because if we go 9-8, yes, you can draft a rookie quarterback. We saw the Giants draft Jackson Dart in the 20s. That is 100% possible. But if you want probably one of the 2 or 3 best guys, according to the experts and people in the draft, you can't be picking in the high teens, low 20s. You just can't. It's just not going to happen. So Steelers missed the playoffs at 9-8, but keep the Tomlin streak going. If I'm going to get burned on something in the AFC preview here, if I'm going to get burned on something, it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals at 9-8, making the playoffs as the number 6 overall seed in the AFC. So the second team to punch their ticket to the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals at 9-8. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. That's a great foursome. That is tremendous. That team is going to score a ton of points. Can they protect Joe Burrow, and can they play any defense? If this team plays like the 15th, if they had the 18th best defense this year, if you told me, right, that the Cincinnati Bengals would have the 18th best defense, this team probably would win the division, in my opinion, because Joe Burrow, just as good as Lamar Jackson, has better weapons than T. Higgins and Chase Brown and in Jamar Chase. The Bengals defense is going to be nowhere near 18th in the league. Nowhere near. And they still have Trey Hendrickson. They still won't be anywhere near the 18th best defense. They'll be lucky to be in the top 25. That's how poor this defense is. So, unfortunately for Joe Burrow, they're capped. They were capped last year. They started slow. They cannot do that once again if they want to have any chance to win this division. Call me in September, end of September. Did the Bengals start slow? Because if they started slow again, then the postseason is not out of reach. Then the division will be out of reach already, end of September. I do think the Bengals are a playoff team because of Joe Burrow. I think they can get into the playoffs, and I think they're going to fizzle out early. I can get burned on this. I can get burned on this 2 ways. If the Bengals defense is that bad, this team can miss the playoffs. But if the Bengals defense is good or competitive or competent, I can get burned because they can win the division. I can get burned going 2 ways here with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I'm going to kind of be a little bit of a coward here. I'm going to call it out myself. I'm going to stick in the middle. I'm going to go 9-8 and get the 6th seed in the AFC. And who's winning the AFC North? Once again, at 12-5, that is the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, don't drop the ball again. And that defense is tremendous. The Ravens are led by a top 3 quarterback in the league, a 2-time MVP. The Ravens' biggest hurdle is, can they win in the postseason? We know they can win in the regular season. We know they can win the division. We know they can get a high seed. They cannot win in the postseason. We saw them fizzle out in the divisional round last year to Buffalo. If you're Baltimore, you kind of have a similar Bills have had way more success. Bills and Josh Allen have had way more success in the postseason than the Ravens had. So don't let anybody tell you that. It's pretty factual. The problem with the Ravens as well with the Bills, Ravens need to get home field. Ravens goal once again, obviously win the division, but compete for the 1 seed. I have them not getting the 1 seed or the 2 seed. I have them winning the division at 12-5, getting the number 3 overall seed in the AFC. I think this team is loaded once again. I think they're super talented. They're locked to win double-digit games. I think they're a 12-5 team that cruises towards the end to a really competitive division, right? We're talking about competitive divisions. If you look above AFC East, right? Those 14-3, then you have 3 teams under 500, 8-9, 6-11, 6-11. In the AFC North, you have the Browns at 4-13, but then Steelers over 500, missing the playoffs. Bengals sneaking in at over 500, and then the Ravens at 12-5. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys have and what you think of my AFC East and my AFC North predictions. So far in the playoffs, we have the Bills as a 1 seed, Ravens as a 3 seed, Bengals as a 6. We need to fill out 2, 4, 5, and 7. And we're going to get only one team coming from the AFC South. We're going to start off with the Indianapolis Colts finishing 4th in the division at 5-12. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm not going to get too mad here because I don't know if Anthony Richardson is going to be a franchise quarterback. He's probably not. I don't know if Anthony Richardson is any good. I really don't. I have no idea. He's super raw still. He has barely any starts in the National Football League to give up on him this early. But what the Colts have done at the quarterback position is laughable. The fact that their GM, I forgot his name, Ballard, I forgot his first name, has a job at this point is an absolute joke. It is. There is no way that he should be still employed as the GM of the Indianapolis Colts. You take Anthony Richardson in the top 5 and barely give him any starts. And I'm not saying Anthony Richardson's a good quarterback. I'm not saying Anthony Richardson will ever be a top 20 quarterback. I'm not even that much of a believer in Anthony Richardson. Give the guy a chance. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, if you're a Colts fan, you're sitting at home right now thinking, well, if we had Anthony Richardson, he's a fun, exciting quarterback that is still really young, that we took in the top 5, and that has very under 20 starts in his career. No, let's start Daniel Jones. Why are you starting Daniel Jones? You know exactly what Daniel Jones is. He's a below-average quarterback that was a quarterback for 5+ years in the Giants and won 1 playoff game and was never very good outside of 1 year. What, is Daniel Jones all of a sudden going to be a great quarterback? No, he's not. I'm once again, I'm not saying Anthony Richardson's going to be a star or even a good quarterback, but a guy with middle teen starts, under 20, a top 5 pick who has all the tools and talent, give him a chance. Like, you got to give him a chance to play some football games, and the Colts are just not. So, Ballard, keep forgetting his first name. When he goes home at night, he should think about how much of a malpractice he has done with the Colts. And if you're Jonathan Taylor, if you're Michael Pittman, if you're DeForest, if you're anybody on that Quentin Nelson, you have to look you have to talk to your front office and be like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because they've had no plan at this quarterback position for 10+ years, or not 10+ years. Since Andrew Luck retired, they've had absolutely no plan. And then you think finally, well, we draft a guy in the top 5. Maybe we will try to develop him. Nope, we're just going to start Daniel Jones again, and we'll see what happens there. So I'm sorry, Colts fans. I respect you as a franchise. I have nothing against the Colts, but man, you guys are so poorly run. It's laughable at this point. Sometimes you make the Jets look good. 5-12, missing the playoffs. Look, they're talented. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Quentin Nelson have some good, solid defensive players. They have no quarterback. They have no quarterback once again. They're going to go 5-12. I do think they can be competitive. I do think they can be better than 5-12. It's not a hard division in my opinion, but I don't know if they're going to do much at the quarterback position. But they're a talented team. They are. They are a competitive, talented team. Coming in at 3rd, I'm excited for what the Tennessee Titans can be this year. Maybe you see Pete. Well, you have them at 6-11. Is that a fun, exciting team? Probably not, but we get to see year 1 of Cam Ward, and I'm excited to what Cam Ward can be. Number 1 overall pick, probably one of the least hyped up number 1 overall picks ever. Spoiler alert, that's a good thing. Like, that is a good thing that he doesn't get as hyped as other prospects have, because he can fly under the radar and kind of just do his thing. They have solid receivers. They have Calvin Ridley. Like, I don't know what the Titans are this year, but I'm excited to see what they are. Brian Callahan's solid. I think could be a good, competent head coach. If Cam Ward's good or solid this year, this team can win 6 to 8 games. I have them at 6-11. I think they're fun. I think they're exciting, and I'm excited to see what Cam Ward is. I don't have a huge opinion on them. Like I just ranted about the Colts for some reason. But yeah, Jaguars 8-9, just missing out on the playoffs. I think this is a bounce back year for the Jaguars. I really do. What a year last year was for the Jaguars, right? Like, you have Doug Peterson. You think, oh, he's a competent head coach. Won a Super Bowl in Philly. Nope. We're going to fizzle out. Trevor Lawrence is going to take a step back. Travis Etienne's going to have a really bad year, and we're going to be really bad. And you're like, okay, well, what do we do now? Well, they hired Liam Cohen outside of the weird press conference. Competent OC in Tampa Bay, resurrected Baker Mayfield's career, turned him into a really good quarterback, makes the playoffs consistently. I have the Buccaneers going 10-7. And Baker Mayfield's been great since he joined Tampa Bay. Maybe he can do the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. And I think he can. I think he can bring back what we saw early on from Trevor Lawrence. I like the running back room. They have Tank Bigsby, Bishal Tootin they drafted from Virginia Tech. And they also have Travis Etienne, who I think is going to have a better year. Their receiving core is fun. We forget they have Travis Hunter, so he's going to play a little defense. He's going to play a lot of receiver. And don't forget, one of the best rookies we saw last year, Brian Thomas Jr. The Jaguars defense really scares me. They have Josh Allen, not the Bills Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen. They have Tyson Campbell. Like, they could play Travis Hunter. I like their defense scares me. I think their defense is going to hold them back from being a playoff team. This team could make the playoffs. I really believe the Jaguars could make the playoffs. I have them missing out at 8-9, but I think Liam Cohen brings back what we saw early on at Trevor Lawrence's career. They have weapons in Travis Hunter, in Brenton Strange, who's a good tight end, and Brian Thomas Jr. And then we see a resurrection from Travis Etienne potentially. If not, you have Tank Bigsby, you have Bishal Tootin. I'm excited for what the Jaguars can be. And if you look at where I have the Texans at 9-8, they just missed out on winning that division. So I have the Jaguars 8-9, and I have the Houston Texans taking the 4th overall seed in the AFC and being 9-8. I think this is a coin toss division, in my opinion, between the Texans and the Jaguars. I'm going to give the edge to the Texans' better quarterback play and C.J. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans. Their receiving core got a little banged up, but they added in the draft. They added Noel and Jaden Higgins, both from Iowa State. They have Nico Collins. What is Joe Mixon at this point of his career? Does he give him anything after coming off IR and after the first 4 games? Is it Woody Marks' team, the rookie? I like the Texans. I think they're a solid team, but this team could easily miss out on the playoffs. They're like that, so hit or miss. I think this is a one bid division. I only think the division winner gets in here. I really do. And I think it's a coin toss between Houston and Jacksonville. I was really close to picking the Jaguars to win that division. Really close, because I think the Jaguars have a very good chance to have a bounce back year. I think the Texans sneak in. I think we see C.J. Stroud closer to year 1 than what we saw in year 2. Defense is good with Will Anderson. There's a ceiling to this team, in my opinion, with Houston. I just think there is a ceiling. I like what C.J. Stroud is. I like what DeMeco Ryans is. I do. There's a ceiling to the Houston Texans. My ceiling is 9-8. But guess what? You go 9-8 and you win that division, you're hosting a playoff game. Wild card weekend. They're the 4th seed. And then the final division, the AFC West, 3-bid league. Let's go. Raiders. Sneaky. I have them going 6-11. So you might be like, well, is that sneaky? I think they're going to be better than you think. Pete Carroll's their head coach. Geno Smith's their quarterback. They drafted Ashton Genty. Why not Vegas? I don't think Vegas is a playoff team. I don't think they even compete remotely for a playoff spot. They're not going to be horrible. They might be tough. They might lose games because They have to play the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos 6 times, so I have all making the playoffs. So if I'm right on that division, the Raiders would have had to play 6 games against playoff teams just in their own division. You can't say that about AFC North, but you almost can. You definitely can't say that about the AFC South or the AFC East. Like, that is really tough. It's a really tough division. It's probably the toughest division. There's a competition for 3 divisions, in my opinion, for the toughest division in football. It's the AFC North, it's the AFC West, and the NFC North. And you can make 100% the case that the AFC West is the toughest division in football. I think the Raiders are going to be interesting, fun, little. Genty's going to be really cool going end of first round, early second round in a lot of fantasy leagues. A fun, exciting running back. Geno Smith's going to give them competent quarterback play. He's going to slow down what we saw from the Gardner Minshew and the Aiden O'Connell and the Desmond Ridder and whatever we saw at Raiders quarterback position the last couple years. Is he going to lead them to the playoffs? No. He's going to keep them in games and give them a chance. That's all they can ask for at this point. Year 2, maybe Vegas moves on to a new quarterback. I know they gave Geno a couple-year deal, but I think the Raiders could be good. Geno was good in Seattle. He was a good quarterback in Seattle. Chargers. They get my 7th seed in the AFC West going 9-8. You can easily flip-flop Denver and LA, and you can make a case they can win that division. I don't think I'm just going to pass over the Chiefs just yet. You can make a case, and people have, for the Chargers to win the division. But I have them going 9-8, getting that 7 seed in the AFC West, 7 seed in the AFC, and 3 seed in the AFC West. Talent-wise, I think they're still missing, and you lose Rashawn Slater for the season. That is a massive blow at the left tackle position. Najee Harris, they drafted Omarion Hampton. I like that running back room. I love what Omarion Hampton could be. You had drafted Trey Harris. You have Ladd McConkey, who had a great year 1. Maybe does Justin Herbert finally have the weapons? Like, does he have the talent around him with Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris potentially, Omarion Hampton? Harbaugh is their coach. Made the playoffs last year. Do the Chargers have another year where they can take the next step? I don't know if I see it yet with the Chargers. I think it has to do with the division a little. I think if they're an easier division, this team's definitely 11 win team, not 12, 11 win team. I don't know if we see a crazy resurgence from the Chargers. Their defense is solid. Harbaugh is a great coach, one of the best coaches in the National Football League. Am I undershorting them at 9-8? Maybe. Division-wise, I still think they're a year away, but they're building something with Hampton, Trey Harris, Ladd McConkey, like Justin Herbert. They are building something in LA. Still think it's 1 year away from potentially competing for a Super Bowl or a deep run in the playoffs. But Justin Herbert's talented. He can win you football games. And the narrative around Justin Herbert is ridiculous sometimes. Look, I get it. He has struggled sometimes in the postseason. Some of those rosters and some of those weapons he's been on has been pitiful. So, yes, some of the blame goes to Justin Herbert, no doubt. But it's not just on him. And then the 2 seed. The Denver Broncos going back to the postseason. Spoiler alert, they could easily miss the postseason. But I think Bo Nix doesn't take a year 2 leap where you're like, wow, top 5, top 6 quarterback. I don't see that from Bo Nix. I don't think I ever see that from Bo Nix. I see a Baker Mayfield type of career with where Baker Mayfield is at in Tampa Bay, not the jump around Baker Mayfield did until he got to Tampa Bay. But what we see right now in Tampa is what I think we see for Bo Nix, which is a great career. Baker Mayfield, I rate him as the 10th best quarterback in the 9th best quarterback in the National Football League. So top 12 quarterback in the National Football League is where I think Bo Nix is, 8-12 in my opinion. His ceiling is not right now. Sorry, not right now. Not a top 10 quarterback. His ceiling 8-12 in the league. Sean, this division has some coaches if you think about it, right? You have Andy Reid, you have Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and you got Pete Carroll. We got some Super Bowls, and some Super Bowls outside of Harbaugh, who's been to a Super Bowl and won a national championship in Michigan. We got some winners in this division. We really do. But I like Denver, 10-7, Bo Nix. They drafted RJ Harvey. They still have Cortland Sutton. That defense is going to be so elite for them, right? We saw them in the postseason last year. We saw them kind of just not be ready for that, right? Like, they were just not ready to go to Buffalo. They scored early, and you're like, oh, maybe. Well, nope, not a game, not even game. Not even close to being ever a game outside of the first drive from Denver. Buffalo ran away with that game. I do think Denver defense is really good. They're a top 5 unit in the National Football League. So Bo Nix doesn't have to be Superman for this team to win double-digit games. I think with the defense, with Sean Payton and Bo Nix being good in year 2, not taking a crazy leap with Sutton, with RJ Harvey, with J.K. Dobbins, Denver's a playoff team. I think they go 10-7, and I think they get the number 5 overall seed in the AFC West. And I'm not ready to unthrone the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. Will they do it this year? We'll find out. The Kansas City Chiefs going 13-4 and getting the number 2 overall seed in the AFC. I've seen it's been flashy to pick the Broncos. Some people pick the Chargers to win the AFC West. I am not. Vegas odds is like -1. Don't quote me on it. Saw a week of -105 to win that division. And I get it. Raiders are tough. Chargers and Broncos are both postseason teams playoff teams in my head. In my opinion, they were both playoff teams last year. I don't know if it's ready to dethrone the Chiefs, and I don't think they are. 13-4, 2-seed Patrick Mahomes. I know they're missing Rashee Rice for almost half the year. That's a big loss. They need Xavier Ward. They need to take a step forward. Don't tell me he took a step forward last year, because he did not. So don't tell me that. That's just lying about a narrative. It's Andy Reid. It's Patrick Mahomes. What do we have left of Travis Kelce? He just got married. No one cares. What do we see with Travis Kelce going forward here? Does he have anything left in the tank? It's the Chiefs. I am not going to pick the Chiefs to not win the division until, if the Chiefs don't win the division this year, I cannot pick them to win the division next year. But I'm not going to do it until I actually see it. I don't see it. 13-4. Okay. So we have the AFC East. We have the AFC North. We have the AFC South and the AFC West. If you haven't checked out our NFC preview, you guys can see all the teams on your screen, the NFC East, the North, the South, and the West. I'm not going to break any of them down. Go to our NFC preview on the channel from a couple weeks back and go watch that and drop a like and click that. So we got that. We have the 7 teams in the playoffs with the Steelers. Oh, my bad. I just absolutely smacked my mic with my notes, so that's wonderful. Hopefully that did not make a loud noise in your car or wherever you guys are listening or watching. As always, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. And the road to 5,000. We just hit 4.3 thousand on the YouTube channel. Road to 5,000 continues. Steelers just missed out on the playoffs. So do the Jaguars. 1-7. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, Broncos, Bengals, Chargers. Quickly go through this. I am not going to go in depth with my playoff predictions because we do a wild card preview, we do a divisional round preview, and we do an AFC and NFC championship preview. And I said that in the last podcast with my NFC preview. But Bills get a bye as the number 1 overall seed. Chiefs, Chargers, wild card round. I have the Chiefs defeating the Chargers. Ravens, Bengals. So another interdivision wild card round 3 versus 6. I have the Ravens beating the Bengals. And then we have 4-seed Texans hosting the 5-seed Broncos. I have the Broncos going to Houston and defeating the Texans. The divisional round. And I mentioned earlier how big it is. Whoever gets that 1 seed, you can avoid. If the Ravens get it, you potentially avoid Buffalo and Kansas City in the divisional round. If Kansas City gets it, you potentially avoid Baltimore and Buffalo in the divisional round, like they did last year. This year, Buffalo gets it, so they avoid both those teams. Bills 1 seed, 5-seed Broncos, and I got the Bills as the number 1 overall seed, defeating the Broncos and going to the AFC Championship game, who they will be facing Ravens, Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC divisional round. And my AFC Championship game is the Bills, Ravens, and I have the Buffalo Bills going to the Super Bowl. And you guys want to hear my Super Bowl pick? Drum roll, please. Someone banging on a drum, please. And here we go. The Buffalo Bills defeating the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. What a Super Bowl this would be, right? We're talking about 2 historic franchises that have suffered and suffered and suffered. And then they get to face each other in the Super Bowl, and one team has to lose, which would be so unfortunate because I would love for the Lions to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, I would love for the Bills to win the Super Bowl just a little bit more. I have the Buffalo Bills finally doing it, defeating the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. So that's my Super Bowl prediction. Like I said, I'm going to do a wild card preview. I'm going to do a divisional round preview, an AFC NFC Championship preview, and then a Super Bowl podcast. We always do all those 4 podcasts come playoff time. So, but my early Super Bowl prediction on September 3rd, Bills over Lions. You guys can see it if you want to screenshot it. My AFC East, North, South, and West as well. You can see right here, NFC East, North, South, and West. And for that preview, go back into the channel. Or if you're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, check out my NFC preview. And if you haven't yet, checked out our over-under predictions for the 2025-2026 NFL season. It is a great listen. It's the season. The season starts tomorrow night. There's nothing else I can give you guys. I gave you guys everything. Make sure you guys check out all our NFL content. If you haven't checked out our college football season preview, please go check that. Week 1 was awesome, chaotic. We saw Alabama lose. Clemson loses at home. Texas only scores 7 points and loses to Ohio State. Notre Dame goes into Miami and loses. It was Bill Belichick gets smoked on his opening night in UNC's college football debut. If you haven't checked out my college football season preview, please go check that out on the channel. That would mean a lot. Tomorrow night, NFL starts. Cowboys, Eagles, Thursday Night Football, Chargers, Chiefs in Brazil on Friday, and then Sunday Night Football, Bills, Ravens, which will be a preview of the AFC Championship and obviously in a rematch of the great divisional round from last year. If you haven't yet, get on Underdog Fantasy as we are sponsored by them, and I really appreciate everyone over at Underdog Fantasy. Use code TSP for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Link is in the description. I'm helping you guys out. NFL college football season. Get on Underdog Fantasy. Use code TSP and your deposit match will be up to $100. So make sure you guys get on Underdog Fantasy. And as always, we are sponsored. No, we are not sponsored by our Twitter account because that's my Twitter account. That Twitter account is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Get on X, get on Instagram. Weekly college football rankings, top 10 every Monday. Every Thursday, our weekly NFL picks. And then you guys find out some other videos, some clips from the podcast when podcasts are dropping. Don't miss out on anything on social media. X and Instagram are in the descriptions, as well as our Apple Podcast and Spotify. Whew, that was a lot of talking. That was my final preview. So hopefully you guys enjoyed our AFC preview and predictions. Like I said, go back in the channel, check out our NFC preview, and make sure you check out our over-under NFL predictions. A ton of NFL content came your way, some college football content. We won't go anywhere anytime soon. Stay locked into the YouTube channel, the X account, the Instagram account, podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, everything. Stay locked in when it comes to the Talking Sports podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Enjoy the first night of the NFL with the Eagles and the Cowboys. It should be a great one. Chargers Chiefs should be another great one on Friday, and then Bills Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Bears Vikings on Monday Night Football. A ton of great games coming up in week 1 in the NFL season. Stay locked into the podcast, YouTube channel, Instagram, and X. So please don't go anywhere. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I need to take a sip of water because I don't want to talk anymore. And guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.